There we go.
All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 3, a special edition of Backseat Racers this week. I am joined by a good friend and usual co-host on this show, Taylor Kitchen. Taylor, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to have you here. I am more excited for the other guest of this show, Derek Kraus, driver of the number 19 McAnally Hilgerman. Did I say that right?
Yep, correct.
Racing Toyota Tundra in the Camping World Truck Series this year, right? They change the name every like 3 years.
Yeah.
But how are you, man?
Good. How about you guys?
I am fantastic. Very excited to be here. Before we get going into our actual interview, I just want to say you are the first driver on the show. Me being a fan of yours, I couldn't think of a better first driver to have on the show. And I got to meet you at that gun show, the gun shop meet and greet you did. And that's why I got to meet you and ask you to come on the show. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Thank you for coming to that.
Yeah, man. As soon as I saw, I was like, I gotta go. I was going to try to see like if I could run into you at Coda or something, but I was like, that place is so big and so messy. I was just like, yeah, just give up.
Yeah.
But before we get into our interview, I want to say like how I became a fan of yours so that people know. And I told you this, and I think it's kind of funny. And I saw something on Twitter that only made it a little bit funnier for me. I became a fan of you through being a fan of Haley Deegan out in the Arca West series. And Haley Deegan, very impressive out there. But there was this guy named Derek Kraus who just kept beating her and eventually would go on to win that championship in 2019, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So this guy named Derek Kraus ended up coming out and beating her. And I was like, hey, if I think Haley Deegan's so good, like obviously this Derek Kraus guy through the moon, right? I was like, this guy's really good. And so then I ended up playing NASCAR Heat 3 with my sister, and you and Haley Deegan were both in the game. And we ended up racing each other like stupid hard in your trucks and stuff, and the truck series and everything. And we always went to Pocono, which is a bit odd because it's not our home track, of course. But anyways, then I went on to watch you last year in the truck series. Well, your first couple starts in the truck series in 2019, and last year as a rookie in a COVID pandemic season. And I was really impressed with what I saw to that season, and that solidified me being a fan of Derek Kraus for life. So
Perfect.
yeah, man. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started with our interview. So my first question is like, how did you get into racing? Like, how did this become an option for you?
My dad raced, and he took me to my first go-kart race when I was 7 years old, and it just kind of took off from there. I just slowly started moving up through the racing world, racing go-karts and bandoleros, and then look, it's a Midwest truck up here. It's like a late model, and then I raced super late model when I was 12 years old, and that's kind of where it all started.
Yeah. So like, is the racing scene like really prominent in Wisconsin? Is it like an underrated racing scene? We always think of like Charlotte and Indy as racing capitals, but
actually Wisconsin is really good. I mean, there's a lot of racing that goes around here. Where I am in Stratford, Wisconsin, when I used to race late models, we could race 4 nights a week if we wanted to. We could race Thursday night at State Park Speedway, which is just, I mean, they're all really close to my house too. It's just a half hour from my house. And then Friday we could go to Plover, which is like 40 minutes. And then on Saturday we could go to Marshfield, which is just down the road about 20 minutes and race the late model there. And then Sunday night, if we wanted to, we could go to Slinger and race there. So there's a lot of racing that goes on here, dirt and asphalt. So it's a pretty good place to be living or growing up. And whenever I get the chance, I come back here.
how often do you race Slinger? I'm sorry, just
normally I only race it once a year. This year I'll be running the Slinger Nationals. There's always that Slinger Nationals race every year. I believe it's one of the tougher short track races in the country, and it's always one that we go to every year.
yeah. I've had an eye on Slinger for a couple of years now, kind of seeing what's going on up there. You are absolutely right. It's one of the toughest, biggest short track races of the year, I feel like. But
I wanted to ask, growing up, did you have any driver you dreamed of racing? Was there anyone who really inspired you to get into racing?
When I grew up, I always watched Carl Edwards. I don't know, just liked him. And I mean, my late model number back here is number 9. So he had 2 9s on his car. And He was 99, so I always liked him from that. And then his backflip that he always did, and but now he's out of it. He's doing his own thing now, and after that, it was kind of Chase Elliott. I always looked up to racing against him, and it's been cool to be able to race against him. I was racing against him at the Snowball Derby and in the late model back in the day, and it's still really fun to race when he raced the truck races.
Race with them last weekend or last weekend or whatever.
Yeah.
That was a crazy moment, but we'll touch on that in a little bit. Being a Carl Edwards fan, did that inspire your number 19 in the Truck Series, or is that just like a coincidence?
That just happened. I really don't have a choice or a decision or any input on what number I get to be in the Truck Series, or even when I was in the K&N Series. I mean, if I had a choice, I'd be number 9. That's just because it just growing up, that's always what I've been, and it's a number that's kind of ran in our family. So it's always, like I said, if I had a choice, that's what it would be. But I'm not too disappointed with the number 19. It's got a 9 in it still, so that's good.
Is that the logic for your future? Every car you drive has to have the number 9 in it.
I mean, it's whatever happens. So I mean, I don't, like I said, I really don't have a choice on what number the cars are or trucks are that I drive, and it's just whatever is on the door is on the door.
All right.
So we talked about your favorite number. I wanted to ask about like your favorite track. I know you raced at Texas this weekend, but is there one of your favorite tracks, whether it is in the Truck Series that you race on or outside of that you've been on, that's your favorite?
I always used to really enjoy going to Kern County in California. That's always a really fun racetrack that I go to. And then Dover is another really fun one. Just high speed, a lot of banking, and it's just kind of unique and takes a different kind of driving style just because of the way the rubber builds on the racetrack. And it's a different racetrack. It's a different animal. So I always really enjoy going to those two places. And if I had to pick, those are probably my 2 favorite.
Do you still like TMS? I know when we talked on Thursday, you said you liked TMS after 105 degrees basically on Saturday. Do you still like it, or are we out on TMS now?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. It was definitely hot. I don't know how hot it was outside. I think it was upper 90s or something, but in the truck it was pretty warm. So I always like going there. It's a fun racetrack. It's kind of unique how both ends are different, and it's a unique racetrack.
It is. I'll give you a little bit of credit there. You, to me, and I don't know if you felt this way, you were the most committed to the bottom of the racetrack, it looked like, especially early on in the day. So
yeah, it was the truck, just the VHT stuff that they put on, just, I mean, it works at some tracks and it doesn't at others. So it's, as a driver, I personally don't really like it just because of the way it reacts differently on different surfaces. And but once it got activated, I mean, I'm sure you guys saw it. It was kind of just turned into another one groove racetrack, and just everyone, that's where everyone was. So it's kind of just, I don't know. I mean, they say it produces better racing, but it's definitely harder on the drivers to pass, and it just makes it a little more difficult for everyone.
Yeah. Can you tell me a driver that does like the PJ1 stuff? I haven't found one yet.
Yeah, I haven't heard of anything.
Yeah, exactly. I see everybody complains about something on Twitter, but I kind of want to move into, talking about your season and your Truck Series career. My first question is, based off of your rookie season in 2020 and coming in, we're about midway through 2021 at this point, right? What are some of the biggest changes you've seen in yourself as a driver on the track?
Just being more patient and learning the trucks. I mean, there's a lot that goes into a pass, whether it's side drafting, setting them up, or just the aero. There's a lot of aero stuff that goes into the Truck Series behind the scenes that the driver has to deal with, that people here complain about. But I mean, as an outsider, I mean, I was an outsider at one point, just thinking like, can't be that bad. You're just complaining about it, can't be that bad. But once you're in the truck and you experience it, and then you realize how bad it actually is, and it's tough to pass, and it's tough to make moves other than when you're in a restart, and you're not up to speed fully yet until you get wound up, and then that's when it starts getting tough to pass.
Is there a Ryan Newman-esque driver of the Truck Series in your opinion, somebody that's extra hard to pass?
Everyone makes it as hard as they can to pass. I mean, that's kind of the name of the game, but I guess I don't really know.
I didn't know if anybody stood out. I know those Cup guys rag on Ryan Newman about being incredibly hard to pass. So some highly veteran down in the Truck Series. It's a blend, I guess, of young talent like yourself and guys who've been going at it for a while, like Johnny Sauter and Matt Crafton.
I wanted to actually ask kind of about the start of your Truck Series career, about your partnership with McNally. How did that come to be?
It started way back in 2016 when I was 15 years old. Bill called and wanted to have a meeting with us, and it just kind of started from there. We just went to a test at Kern County, and then I started racing his K&N cars, or what they call ARCA now, and that's where it kind of all started, and it's been a good relationship ever since.
And I think coming off of that, with the Napa partnership, how did that also come to be? And I guess the Napa family, I know Zach wanted to kind of touch on this too. Are you kind of in contact with the other Napa drivers in the motorsport world?
Yeah, I mean, we have all of our appearances that we have to go to. Sometimes we go just by ourselves, or sometimes we also go in a big group. So it's kind of one big family, I guess, as you would say. And that all came apart just because Bill's been with them for 30 years now. I believe this is the 30th year that he's been partnered with Napa, and they got a good relationship, and that's good for drivers that are looking for sponsorship.
I guess, yeah, I want to ask about the Napa thing too. Like, it kind of mirrors like the Coca-Cola racing family that people talk about in the Cup Series. Is there someone in the Napa, like the Napa guys? I think of like Ron Capps, Chase Elliott, Alexander Rossi, and Brad Sweet are the ones that come to mind on the top level. But is there anyone in that Napa program like you're really close with, or you kind of bounce racing ideas off of, or talk with a lot?
I've talked to. The only one that's really in the same world that I am is Chase, and I've definitely talked to him a little bit about ideas and what he does differently, and talked to him at a few late model races, and then whenever we can at the truck races.
Yeah. I guess we'll go ahead and kind of tie this back in. I referenced Chase Elliott, and you talked about him racing at Texas this week. And talk about kind of like your feelings and your opinions racing with not just, cup level drivers or guys who have been in the Cup Series, but Cup champions like Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch, and what that does for a driver like you.
Personally, I don't think there's a big deal behind it. Yeah, they're going to be fast and they're going to be good, and they're going to be the ones to beat for sure. But it's, if you do get to beat them, it feels really good. So, if they're in the race and you beat them, that's just a big bonus for you, and makes you and the team feel a lot better. So it's definitely a good. I see a lot of people complain about it a lot on Twitter, and it's just, as a driver, the way that you look at it way differently. You look at it as an opportunity to beat one of them and get your name out there by beating one of them.
Yeah, I tend to give my opinion to the drivers, right? Like if regular Truck Series drivers or competitors don't have a problem with it, or Xfinity Series drivers don't have a problem with it, with Cup guys coming down and running and racing, then why should we as fans? I think it's almost more important to watch you guys race against them as people who want to like evaluate the talent level in the Truck Series, to race against guys like Kyle Busch or Chase Elliott or whoever, rather than see you guys just routinely race the Truck Series competition, because they add something to the series that isn't always there.
Correct.
Do you have a particular moment with either like Chase Elliott or Kyle Busch or anybody like that in the Cup Series on the track that you remember either fondly or not so fondly?
No, I really don't.
I remember on Saturday I was watching the truck race, and I was holding my breath because there was like And you tell me if it was a little bit different in the truck, but like, I think this is like, I don't know, maybe like 7-8 to go, and Chase is trying to reel in John Hunter Nemechek there to win the race. And there is some lap truck up in front of you, and I was like, oh my dear Lord. I was like, this is not going to be good. I was like, Texas is not meant to go 3 wide. I was like, somebody's going to have to give up here. And I was like, oh boy.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was a close moment for sure.
I was like, this whole crowd is going to turn one different way or another if something happens. And I'm like, oh man. I'm sitting in a sea of Chase Elliott fans, and I'm like, oh my Lord. I don't even know who the other truck was, but like I was just holding my breath. I mean, that was kudos to you guys on that one. I thought that, and they were in the racing groove all day long. It felt like whatever groove you wanted to be in, they were also in. And I'm like, oh my. But
yeah.
I guess I want to turn like back straight up into 2021. So like I said, we're about midpoint ish of the season overall. There's only 4 races left in the regular season, right?
Yeah.
Talk about your 2021 season so far and kind of your overall opinion on it.
It hasn't been great, as you probably know. I mean, we've had a lot of mechanical failures and a lot of things that just haven't went our way. And I feel like the last couple races we've been able to gain a lot of points and be able to capitalize on stage points. But Texas, I felt like we had a little bit better truck than where we finished. But it was just kind of what happened at the end with how hard it is to pass there, and just because of all the air. But we'll move on to Nashville, and Nashville there's practice and qualifying, so it'll get a little bit back to normal.
Yeah, you have, in my opinion, had one of the unluckiest starts, and I don't even mean to make you feel bad about it or bring it up like that necessarily, but Daytona, the season opener, I think you got wrecked like 3 or 4 times, and I'm like,
yeah.
I was like, this is the most incredibly awful thing I have ever like witnessed in my life. And I'm like, this can't not be real. And then Las Vegas, I think you had like a mechanical failure out there too or something.
Yep.
Yep. I do agree. You have really turned it on. Charlotte, you had top 10 night pretty much all night. I thought, you were on pace for a top 10 finish at Texas on Saturday as well. I absolutely agree that truck was better than where it finished. And it's a shame that they have ruined that racetrack. But you talked about going for points. You're 42 points out right now, I think is about the number. Are you, as a driver, your mindset, are you still points racing to try to get into the playoffs, or are you like looking at trying to win a race? Where is your head at in that sort of mind?
I mean, one of these races here, we're definitely gonna have to go for the win. We're gonna have to do whatever we can to win, but as of Texas, we were still points racing. We were trying to get as many stage points as we possibly could, and just doing everything we could to get points. But eventually here, we're going to have to turn around, and we're going to have to race just for wins, or we're going to have to use strategy just try to get us up front and get us a win.
Yeah, you guys went a little bit off strategy going for stage points at Texas, and I thought it was going to pay bigger dividends in that last in stage 3, but it went green, something you don't always see in the truck series. There's a really green stage 3, which in general is commendable, but does the truck series limiting like your tires and stuff per race, does that kind of alter like your strategy, like on as a team, your crew chief on the pit box, you and the truck?
No, I mean everyone's got the same amount of tires, so I mean everyone's kind of in the same boat, so it really doesn't alter anything. It just kind of makes it more of a strategy and more of a plan that you have to come up with before the race or during the race, depending on how it's going. So it's kind of just kind of whatever happens, and that was our game plan going into the race, and we didn't switch it up at all.
I wanted to ask you real quick, if we're talking about points racing and racing for a win, is there a track that you feel like you're best fit to win a race at, or what track do you feel like you have the best shot?
Nashville, I mean, everyone's kind of in the same boat. No one's really ever been there. So Nashville will be one of those tracks. And then Pocono, I felt like last year at Pocono, we had a really good truck, and I adapted to that track pretty well. So hopefully them 2 races, we can have good runs. And then the final 2, Watkins Glen and Knoxville, I mean, those are kind of just wild cards and nobody really knows what's going to happen. So it's going to be an interesting last 4 races, but we're definitely not going to give up, and we're going to do everything we can.
Yeah. One final question, kind of about the Truck Series as a whole. What is your opinion like on the Truck Series competition? I know I've seen people talking about like the Truck Series is a deeper field than maybe the Xfinity Series and stuff. Do you kind of share those sentiments, or do you feel they're pretty equal? Or
I mean, I definitely feel like the Truck Series has a lot of competition. I feel like it's got a little bit more competition than the Xfinity Series. I feel like going into the weekends, I mean, I feel like there's 15, 20 capable trucks that can win a race. And it's one of the tougher series, I feel like, in the top three. And it's fun to race in and makes your restarts really interesting.
yeah, I guess one final thing. Talk about like your alliance with Hattori Racing. Like, how close is that relationship? And talk about Austin Hill. Like, do you see him as a teammate or anything, or is it just, you know, Toyota dudes?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, we're, as you probably know, we're out of the same shop, so it's kind of I'd say teammates kind of to a certain point, just because we're out of the same shop. We share a little bit of notes, and I mean, it's as close as you're gonna get to being teammates and not being labeled teammates. So, it's a good relationship, and I think what BMR, McAnally, Hogeman have done, and with the Tory Racing team, is definitely a good thing.
Yeah, has he been like a big factor so far in your Truck Series career, just kind of helping you along the way? He's been around for a few years in the series and won a few races.
Yeah, Austin has definitely helped me a lot. I can definitely go to the shop and ask him any kind of questions that I need, and he's always kind of been there for me to bounce ideas off of.
Is there any other Truck Series drivers you kind of share that sort of relationship with, or you work with, or anything like that kind of comes to mind?
Just, I mean, mainly just Austin. Austin is kind of just, I mean, it's just easy access with Austin, just because he's right there at the same shop with us, and I see him quite a bit.
Yeah. I kind of want to move in and wrapping up the interview. We want to start like talking about your careers and stuff. And I think Taylor had a question about that.
I think for any career you're in, it's fun to kind of look back at one moment that really stands out to you, one moment that I think propelled you to the next level, or or a moment that just comes in your memory as something that you'll never forget. Is there a moment in your career at any point that just sticks out to you as something that's you'll never forget, or something that propelled you to the next level?
Something I'll never forget is probably Darlington last year. Darlington, I mean, that was the first time I was there, and it was just kind of I mean, the track is definitely just unique, and it's a different type of racetrack than what everyone's used to, really. And just it was cool to be there, and to finish second was really cool as well.
That was a standout race for me last year. I really enjoyed that one, man. I have to tell you. And I was excited to see you guys go back there. I'm excited it's back on the truck schedule for 2 races this year instead of just the originally planned 1.
Yeah.
That'll be a good return trip, I think. Darlington is something I think that should be a staple of the Truck Series. It's, I know earlier we talked about proving yourself against other drivers, but going to a track like Darlington is a prove it track, in my opinion. So I guess my next question is, where do you like see yourself in the next few years, like the next 5 years? Where do you see like yourself, like your career? Like, what's your goal for that?
I mean, always the goal is just to keep moving up as much as you can as a driver. I mean, you definitely always want to be in the top tier of your sport. So that's the goal, and hopefully we can have better runs here at the end of the season, maybe click off a win, and hopefully that'll be possible.
We know I'm rooting for a win.
Yeah.
Probably as much as you are. And my final question is, and I stole this from Jeff Gluck's 12 Questions podcast. I'm going to be very real. One of his questions is like, have you achieved your childhood goal or dream? And if not, like, what is it? So I guess my question is to you, like, have you achieved your goal yet as a child, or are you still working towards that? And like, what is that goal?
I mean, I feel like I've achieved part of it, to be racing in NASCAR. That was always my goal as a little kid, growing up racing go-karts, and to be able to race in NASCAR. So I feel like I've achieved part of it. I want to definitely keep moving up and just keep moving up and make a living out of it, So that's my ultimate goal, but I feel like I've achieved part of my goal.
Yeah. Taylor, do you have any final questions before we wrap this interview up?
I just want to say thank you, Derek, so much for your time. And I would agree with you. I think the Truck Series has some of the best competition. I think this year in particular, it's been very fun to watch you all work really hard, moving up to the next level, or just in general, giving the fans a really good show. I feel like the trucks competition second to none. It's everyone trying to prove themselves, and absolutely, I feel like you've done a fantastic job this season. I know, bad luck aside, I think at Texas, you had a great run at Texas. But thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anything you want to promote for yourself or for your team or anything?
I'm good on my end.
Taylor, is there anything you want to promote with your channel or anything?
Nope, just a new episode Above the Yellow Line coming out on Wednesday, and it'll be a two-parter and also coming out on Friday.
Yeah, other than that, I want to thank, of course, Derek and Taylor for coming on. It's a time commitment to come on. A little podcast started recently. And of course, I want to do my usual sign off, of course, thanking my parents for supporting my addiction and my passions for NASCAR. So with that, everybody, have a great week, and I hope you enjoy this interview.